At first sight, it seems that the only teachers our Lord had in mind were the Pharisees when he said, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you scour sea and land to gain one proselyte, and when he is gained, you make him twice as much the child of hell as yourselves." Matthew chapter 23, verse 15. But in reality, by rebuking the Pharisees in this way, he was warning those who in the future would fall into the same mistake, so that heeding his words, "Woe to you," from fear of his condemnation, they would restrain their improper desire for human glory. They should also recall the example of Job, and either care for the disciples as he cared for his children, or else renounce all claim to give spiritual direction. Wishing his sons to be free from sins in their mind, Job offered sacrifices every day on their behalf in case, as he said, "My sons have thought evil in their minds against God." Job chapter 1 verse 5. But these men cannot discern even outward signs, because their intelligence is still obscured by dust from the battle which they are waging against the passions. How then do they rashly take upon themselves the direction and cure of others, when as yet they have not cured their own passions, and when they cannot lead others to victory, since they have not yet gained the victory for themselves? First, we must struggle against our own passions, watching and keeping in mind the course of the battle. And then, on the basis of personal experience, we can advise others about this warfare and render victory easier for them by describing the tactics beforehand. There are some who gain control over their passions by practicing great austerities, but, as happens in skirmishes by night, they do not know how victory was won, and have no clear idea of the snares laid against them by the enemy. This is indicated symbolically by what Joshua did. While his army was crossing the Jordan at night, he ordered his men to take stones out of the river and set them up on the bank, and then cover them with whitewash and write on them how they had passed over the Jordan. Josh chapter 4 verses 2 through 9. By this he signifies that the hidden thoughts underlying our passionate behavior should be brought into the open and pilloried, and that we should not mind sharing this knowledge with others. In this way, not only will the one who has crossed know how we did it, but others who wish to do the same will cross more easily because they have been instructed. Through such experience, the first teaches others. But these self-appointed teachers lack personal experience and do not even listen when others speak to them. Relying solely on their own self-assurance, they order their brethren to wait on them like slaves. They glory in this one thing, to have many disciples. Their main objective is to ensure that, when they go about in public, their retinue of followers is no smaller than those of their rivals. They behave like mountebanks rather than teachers. They think nothing of giving orders, however burdensome, but they fail to teach others by their own conduct. Thus they make their purpose obvious to all. They have insinuated themselves into a position of leadership. not for the benefit of their disciples, but to promote their own pleasure. They should learn from Abimelech and Gideon that it is not words, but actions that inspire people to follow a leader. Abimelech prepared a load of wood, then laid it on his own shoulders, saying, "Make haste and do what you have seen me to do." Judges chapter 9, verse 48. Gideon also shared tasks with his men, and by his own example showed them what to do, saying, "Look at me and do the same." Judges chapter 7, verse 17. Similarly, the apostle said, "These hands have ministered to my necessities, and to those who were with me." Acts chapter 20, verse 34, while the Lord himself first acted and then taught. All this proves that it is more convincing to teach through actions than through words. But false teachers are blind to such examples, and arrogantly tell men what to do, imagining that they know something about these matters at second hand. They are like the inexperienced shepherds who were rebuked by the prophet for carrying a sword on their arm. The sword is on their arm, and their right eye will be blinded. For in their foolishness they have neglected right action, and so they have extinguished the light of contemplation. Yet as shepherds they are harsh and inhuman whenever they can inflict punishment. So their contemplative understanding is immediately destroyed, and then their actions, deprived of this understanding, prove misguided. For those who do not gird their sword to their thigh, but carry it on their arm, can neither do nor see anything. To gird the sword on the thigh means to use the incisive power of the intelligence to cut off one's own passions, while to bear it on the arm means to have punishment ready for the sinful acts of others. Thus Nahash the Ammonite, whose name means snake, threatened the Israelites, gifted with contemplated insight, that he would put out all their right eyes. 1 Samuel chapter 11, verse 2, thus depriving them of any right understanding and lead them to right action. He knew that when people proceed from contemplation to action, this right understanding enables them to make great progress. The action is good because it has first been contemplated by the clear-sighted eyes of spirit.